So today is the day after surgery of arriving at this hair place, I guess, to wash your hair. It's been like almost 15 minutes since I've been here. Everyone else has left. There's like three other people that had surgery that were there to wash their hair. And I was the first person to get this foam on. And the woman, she's like a Nigerian woman, she was like applying the foam in order to dry the blood. And my scalp was a lot more sensitive than I thought. And I was like, oh, please no rubbing. And she's like, and she replied, a little bit annoyed, yeah, I'm not rubbing. And I think that kind of set it off. We're in the situation we are now. So with Heva, when you get the gold package, you get 3 nights of your hotel covered. And today would be checkout day if it wasn't extended. And I spoke to my coordinator, Mary. I asked quite a few times, like since yesterday, like the hotel, they will not extend. They said like your company, Heva, like they have to email, they have to book it. And this morning, it's like actually I messaged my coordinator Mary last night, nothing. And so I messaged her again at 9 a.m. this morning, and she just said hi back. And oh, she said like, oh, did you talk to the hotel? And I said yes. And they said like they will not. I had to repeat myself like 2 times. I said like, they will not let me extend unless you're the one to do it. And she's like, okay, well, are you there at the lobby right now? And I mean, no, I just called from the hotel room. And she said, Mary says, okay, well, you can call me back when you're downstairs in the hotel lobby. And I said, well, can you just call them? So, and she's like, okay, fine, I'll just call them. And I'm just, why is it so much more complicated than it has to be? She said that she sent an email and like they didn't receive it because they just want the darn email in order to extend so that I can pay out of pocket to cover the remaining days that we're here.
I start keeping the liquid inside, but right now we want you to get rid of this liquid from your system. And there are 3 ways that you can get rid of this extra liquid from your system. So the first way would be maybe you will go to restroom really often. Second way would be maybe you're going to sweat some like hot flashes you might have. Third way would be maybe there will be some liquid coming off from the back of your head. So these are totally normal outcomes for hair transplantation. So when you see them happening, you don't need to stress about it. It's just normal and expected and part of the process. Okay? To cover your hair, it's always our preference to leave it uncovered like this, open as much as you can, so your healing will be faster. But after day 10 or 15, you can use more like a fisherman hat, bucket hat, or a silk scarf without putting it very tightly. But after a month, you can use any hats, any caps, any scarves, even wig without glue. You can put all of them on your head. But during the time that you won't be covering your head, in case if you happen to stay under the direct sun, please make sure to have an umbrella.
I'm back at the hotel, and to put it succinctly, the surgery is not for the faint of heart. I'm very tired. The checkup took like I would say 3 hours, so from 11 to 2. I'm starting to bleed slightly. I don't look, my head doesn't look too bad, like being bald, but I'm like slowly accepting that this is my new reality, and it's a little hard to take in. I know surgery is a healing process, but it's still difficult to like, this is my head. Like, I literally did this, and it's gonna be a few months before, and it's gonna take several years for my hair to go back to where it was. I guess the post-op consult I didn't include. There's a section after where the person I had spoken to kind of talked about like the synopsis of what had happened on surgery day. And, I expressed my thoughts respectfully about how, as a patient and as a doctor, it's important to be able to collaborate. And, I just said, I think it's important not to pressure people to do something that they don't want. And she said, yeah. And then, like, she's still trying to justify, like, it's because the doctor is very passionate, which I get that. Cool. But just don't, like, pressure people to do things that they don't feel comfortable with. And then also get mad and start yelling and getting frustrated. That just wasn't cool. It wasn't professional. And I really wish I had that on video. Like, other than that, I have a couple more days here. My head feels very weird. I don't feel comfortable. Like, it feels like a bunch of little breathy noses on my head. The hair wash is pretty painful. Hurt like a mother. I don't know, did I really need 4,500 grafts? Like, that's how much they took out of my head. 4,500. 500 around my eyebrows, 4,000 along my scalp. I really just wanted my hairline to be thickened. Sorry, I probably shouldn't keep showing my scalp at this stage because I just look scary. They recommended downloading their app for Aftercare, which the app is pretty helpful. It sends like reminders of what you can and can't do every single day. So when a few more days roll around, I can finally drink coffee, my saving grace. Surgery day, they give you a bag, like a little small little aftercare bag in your hair. And the guy I had spoken to, I had asked, like, is there a way I can have like a little surgical cap for the airplane? I don't want my head touching the back of the dirty airplane seat. Like, the air in the airplane is also very dry, right? It's very lightweight. I can just put on my head from my flight back home. And he's like, okay, yeah, you can grab one, but would you rather just bring it tomorrow? And I'm like, I don't want to keep bothering him. And like, I can tell he just wanted to go home. So I just said, okay, yeah, I'll come the next day. And none of my post op appointments were in the same building as the actual surgery center. So I'm like, I should have just done it right then and there. But then also, like, did he know I want to come back to this building? I am so dreading the airplane ride back home. And I'm so dreading, like, how the hell do I explain this to people? Bitch, I'm bald. What? I mean, it's kind of a look, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna finish me some pop the balloon and be comforted by Arlette and go to bed soon after. That wasn't my question. I think this will be the last day I will leave this video at. It's been another long one. I went ahead and washed my head at the hotel here and I couldn't get the blood clots out. And a lot of things I actually haven't really mentioned about Heva that have like kind of gone wrong. Not nearly to the extent of actual surgery day, like with the immense breach of decision making and the pressuring to do something I didn't want it to. Like that, I think that's the most offensive thing. The other things that I've experienced, such as like, for example, my coordinator, Mary, she's either great or she's not. When I first started communicating with her for quotes and questions in order to make my decision to come here, she wouldn't ever want to address me by my name. I would be like, hi, Mary. Merhaba, Mary, which is hello in her language to be respectful. And her replies would just kind of be like, eh. Or, it would take a bit to receive a reply. Once I paid a deposit with them, it's like she just stopped being responsive and stopped being like there as a coordinator for me. But when, at some point I decided to cancel and then I decided to reconsider again, and she was being really responsive and as a coordinator should be, right? So last night when I was experiencing like the blood clotting, I'd sent her pictures like, is this normal? Trying to figure out some logistics, she told me to contact someone else. And that's the thing about Heva, is that there's a little bit of like hopscotching between like who you contact, and it can be a little bit cumbersome. You're in an unfamiliar territory and you're having surgery. It would be helpful to not have to take these extra steps to try to like figure out your own logistics for things. But on to the story relevant to this morning. So I was experiencing like some blood clotting. I washed my hair. I still had the clots. I messaged her colleague for advisement. She said yes, but she advised that I go in there to wash my hair. And I was like, okay, I was thinking, okay, what about I just try that because they wouldn't pick me up. And I realized after I washed my hair, like it still wasn't coming out. So I decided to go to their office, and they sent me an address, and I put in Google Maps, it takes me to a coffee shop. I sent this person a picture and I'm like, is this where I'm supposed to go? And she's like, yeah, the address is correct, but I don't recognize the building. So I'm just like, is this the right address then? My husband was with me and he was like, don't you have a video of the actual like business name? Okay, yeah. So I had to do some sleuthing to figure out like where was I post-op day to wash my hair originally. Found the address. I just had to ask the woman, Jenna something, to help me. Like, what is it? Okay, you gave me the address and it takes me like to some weird location to a cafe, but like, can you actually tell me the business name? And she like didn't tell me. So I had like, what do I do? Like, I'm trying to find the right place to like fix the scabs on my head can impair your healing. I arrived there and I let the person know, like, hey, we arrived at this spot, and she's like, oh, at Noble Pool? And I'm like, no, because you didn't tell me the business name. If you told me Noble Pool, I could have put that into Google Maps. Like, that's what I'm thinking. And at some point, try calling her, and she literally says, well, she didn't pick up. And then it's like, I can't talk. Yeah, it's just so frustrating. And keep in mind, like, this isn't just like a one-time thing. Like, this has been like a series of negative encounters with like Heva personnel. There's just some disorganization, right? I'll wrap up kind of what happened today. Waited a little bit to get my head wash from a woman who seemed like an actual nurse, because on post-op day, the woman who had washed my head, I don't really know what medical credentials that she has, because like I've seen her before. I think her name is maybe Jenna. I think her name is Jenna. Maybe it is the same one that was messaging me. But like she was there on surgery day, like ushering us around to different places. So I'm like, I didn't see her in scrubs or anything, and she seemed pretty young, like in her early 20s. But she was like washing people's heads, like post-op surgeries. First wash day was extremely painful, and there came a point when like the lights had blacked out and she like jumped, and I'm just so grateful that she wasn't like on my head when that happened, right? So, but this woman that helped me today, like she was very gentle. She took her time. She had to use a needle to like scrape off the clots, which I could not do that at home. So I'm very grateful that like I stayed a couple extra days in case of something like this happens, like a complication I can't deal with at home. So now my head is looking a little bit more normal, because I was like freaking out. And it is a little bit graphic, but I may show like a photo of what I was working with last night, and it was really troublesome because I kept like oozing fluids, and I have the trauma of surgery day. And let me just lay this out, because I don't think that I really laid this out. Surgery day, I literally am bald. I have thousands of holes in the back of my head. I'm almost done with this surgery. Like I have like fluids pumped in me. I'm in this very vulnerable place. And then I'm given an ultimatum of like, you need to have these extra 500 grafts, and like no one's listening to me. The translator's not listening to me. The doctor's not listening to me. I'm being presented with an ultimatum for something I don't feel comfortable with. And if I was younger and if I didn't have the guts, I probably would have caved in. But like, no. I've had too many medical experiences where like there is no option but to stand up for yourself and like not feel pressured to do things that you don't feel comfortable doing, and that's okay. I had that going on, the past 2 days. I've been dealing with like this weird sensations and sensitivity, and like just constant oozing and just smells coming from my head, and not like an infection, but just like weird medical smells. Also, I've never in my life have I had no hair, and it just feels weird, right? You just feel airs and sensations, and also because I'm very swollen, I look like little Bill. I look like freaking Megamind. It's a lot going on with my face right now. I also have like the annoyances of, Mary being helpful and then not, and then disorganization with like the driver. I'm just in this very vulnerable place, and I just want a peaceful recovery, right? Like I don't think I'm asking for much. And don't someone dare say, oh well, you deserve this because you did this out of the country. Some places do better than others, and regardless of whatever country you're in. And I'm not saying like Heva's like the worst place in the world, because it's not. I don't have an infection. They did their job, but it's just like the different things that have occurred have just like really put a stain on the experience, and like I'm just so ready to go home and like never talk to these people ever again. I'm taking this part. I'm a little bit more positive in this video than I have been earlier today, because like I was just so frustrated, and in clips that I'm showing, like my face is just defeated. Like I'm just exhausted, and I just want to rest and peacefully recover. I do want to have a follow-up later in this journey, like when my hair is growing back and all of that. For anyone who is considering like a hair transplant, especially if it's with Heva, like this video is to kind of give you like a more realistic picture of the journey and the process, right? Like I don't expect this video to turn change people's minds per se, because if you're determined to do something, you're going to do it. But this is to have an expectation of, if you decide to choose them, this is what you will experience. Funny thing, at the hair wash place, they actually do hair transplants there. Sea of 1 and 5-star reviews, but clearly HIPAA does not exist in Turkey. When I had my hair transplant, they had the door like wide open and people coming in and out, in and out. And then when I just like strolled to the restroom, I saw this guy on a table, like bloodied head, like in the middle getting a hair transplant. So like, don't expect much privacy when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm gonna end this here.